Hello everyone, it's Steinyamite here. I am back with a brand new video. Super excited for this one. I actually got the early jump for once. So today we're going to be talking about Ines Raya, or Ines Bea. Why not, right? So Ines is the newest character to First Descendant. She has a lot of fun abilities and these builds have been super fun to make. I have been using her pretty much non-stop, especially for mobbing, ever since she came out. She has a bossing build as well, don't worry, we'll get into all that. She's good for a few bosses. So yeah, I think today is going to be a really fun video and I can't wait to get started. I'll see you there. Alrighty, hello again. Now, without further ado, let's get right into Ines, okay? So, Ines Raya is the newest character, as I said, to First Descendants. She has a lot of fun abilities. She is an electric character, super fun for mobbing, has a lot of cool bossing stuff as well. We're going to get right into the reactors, the components, and then we're going to talk about weapons and then our builds. All right, we will have gameplay footage in the background, obviously. And at the very end, for those of you who want to see numbers, we will have laboratory testing with exact DPS numbers on screen. So here we go. Starting off with the reactor. You want a electric tech skill reactor. She is an electric character, and her red mod, her Transcendent mod, does change all of her abilities into tech. So it is important to have a tech reactor. As far as the bonuses, the really important one is skill cooldown. Obviously, you want gold if you can. As far as the other one goes, there's quite a few you can use, actually. You can use electric skill power, tech. There's a good one for Colossus, all of that type of stuff, right? But really important to make sure you have skill cooldown. Moving right along here into our components, we're using a full Slayer set with her. Some people have said you can use like double Hunter Annihilation, which is really good too. I did do testing with that, but after, all of that testing, I settled on the Slayer set because you use it for bossing anyway, and you might as well just get more damage out for your mobbing build, right? Go as high as you can. Now, specifically here for all four of these, on the Ox Power, you want things like max HP and MP recovery. On my Slayer, I have max MP recovery in combat. This one's the most important, so I want to just take a sec with that. The sensor is the only part of the Slayer set that rolls max MP, so the goal is to get that as high as possible. Nothing else really matters on that one, but you really need the max MP. For the memory, I have shield recovery in combat and defense, and then the processor, I have max shield and shield recovery modifier. Now, moving right along here into our weapons. Specifically for Ines, just like Freyna, you actually want to be using Secret Garden, right? Secret Garden has a really awesome unique ability here, and you want to make sure you get that maxed out, pump it all the way to 4. When using a tech skill, grants the ability Pest Control. Pest Control has a 50% activation rate, lasts 10 seconds, stacks 3 times. On that stack, you get boosts to all of the following, right? So just by holding the gun, you pretty much have a guaranteed chance to proc this, right? With how often you're going to be spamming abilities, and just having skill power and per stack and all of that stuff is really nice. As far as the build goes for it, I don't have anything too special on mine. Nothing really matters for the gun. I just have it set up because you might as well build it, right? But for anyone that wants to build for it, there you go. Now, let's get right along into her builds. Alrighty, starting here with our mobbing build. I've dubbed it Infinity. You can call it whatever you want, but it's the mobbing build. I'll leave a screenshot here while I start talking about this, but yeah. So on the mobbing build here, the most important part that you want to start with is time of the hunting round. This is a Transcendent module. Comes from a few places, but the easiest one to get it from, as long as you can farm bosses, is the hard mode boss Frostwalker. It's one of like 3 or 4 red mods that drops there. You can kill that boss solo now as well in a private queue. You can kill him with a couple characters in sub 10 seconds, so it's a pretty easy farm. This ability changes your 3 attack from a kind of like Emperor Palpatine tickle fingers to a like sky uppercut kick, so that's pretty fun. And then the big one, like I said, it changes all of her other abilities into tech, or just all 4. All right, so that's super important to have. Make sure we build that. Moving right along, mid-air maneuvering. For the grapple, as I say in all of my build guides, this is really personal preference. There are 3 grapples. I like mid-air the most just because you don't really have to aim it. Helps a lot in bosses too, because you can just swing around to get out of danger. Moving right along here. The way this build is going to work, just to preface, you are focused a lot on damage, like crits, and cooldown, right? You want to be able to spam as often as you can. as you'll be seeing in the gameplay footage, we can spam R1 pretty much constantly. Like, it's impossible to get it to run out. And then you can spam her other abilities like the 3 and the 4 a lot quicker too. I tested with a few other builds, and this is what I personally settled on. There are mods you can change if you really want. So starting here, we're going to start with our cooldowns, MP conversion, and nimble fingers. These do the same thing, but just 2 of them. MP conversion gives a 36% cooldown, but it does minus your MP by 15%. Nimble fingers is another 25% cooldown, right? So that's a total of 74%. Really, really, really nice. Now, I'm just going to move along to the other side real quick to note this. Because we have a max MP minus, I actually ended up going with Enlightenment in the end. As I said, I tested a few mods, but I really liked this because it just brings that max MP right back up to 0. So you get really no stat penalties for using MP conversion, and that's super nice. Moving along here, we have front lines and emergency measures. These are great because they're 2 halves of the same coin. Front lines is crit damage plus 64 and crit rate plus 27. And as you'll notice, emergency measures flips that. So crit rate is 64 and crit damage is 27. These are just nice because you basically get the full effect of either one, and they kind of just mush together to make something really nice. Moving along after that, we have skill concentration. This is just another crit damage up by 115%. Super nice to have. Focus on electric is a bit of a newer one. I think it came out in season 1. So for people who have been here since the beginning, this is a bit newer. But this is a electric skill power boost plus 77%. And then skill cooldown minus 6.1. You can use, there's another mod for electric, but I settled on using focus on electric as opposed to, I think it was electric specialist. Yeah. So electric specialist, you get 81% skill power as opposed to 77. But the skill cooldown, honestly, was the trade-off I was willing to take. It's such a minor amount of skill power, especially with how much damage she does anyway. I'd rather just have the cooldown. And it's not for the 1. Again, the 1 ability has so much cooldown anyway, especially with that reactor. If you get gold skill cooldown, you're fine. It's mainly for things like the 3 and the 4. As you'll see in some of the footage, the 4 can pretty much be spammed constantly, and that's really, really nice. Next here we have focus on tech, same idea as focus on electric. Tech skill power because all of these abilities are tech, plus 68, and another skill cooldown. After that, we just have the standard good old max HP, the increased HP, plus 218%. We want to actually have some HP on her, right? And then we talked about enlightenment, and rounding off here we have skill expansion. This is really nice, specifically for her 1 and her 4. Her 1 will ping pong between adds, and it's nice when those have more range to do that. And then the 4, the ring of electricity gets a lot bigger with the skill effect range. So yeah, that is our mobbing build, our infinity build. I use this a lot in dungeons, 250s, 400s, invasions, and also purge. I've done a lot of level 20 solo purge with it. No real issues, right? I can complete it in the amount of time. You might die sometimes, it just happens, but you can easily complete it. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the bossing build. Okay. So back over here with our bossing build. Again, take that second to screenshot. I know it's really important, and I completely understand. I like to do it too. So on with our bossing build. We're still using the same red mod, Time of the Hunting Hounds, because again, we want all these to be tech, right? Midair maneuvering, same thing as before, but if you're just starting on the bossing build, you're not coming from our mobbing build, you can use any grapple you want here. I always just say I like midair, especially in bossing, because I don't really have to aim it. I can just put it anywhere in the sky and get away from line of fire, right? So as you're going to notice here, this build is a little more of a glass cannon, specifically for bossing. It's good against Defiler. In some of the gameplay footage you're seeing, you'll definitely notice we have not too much health. We have just over 2,000, but you can get really quick kills. I can pretty consistently get sub 40-second kills with this bossing build. So yeah, again, here we're going to be using MP conversion and nimble fingers. These are both for skill cooldown, giving us a minus 74%. And that is because with the bossing build, you're going to want to spam your 1 ability. Your 2, 3, and 4 will pretty much never get used on a boss, but you really want to make sure you're spamming the 1 and just trying to ping pong the boss, right? Now, the next one is going to be front lines. This is just for crit damage and crit rate up. After that, we have maximize range. This is something the community has definitely done a lot of testing on, and we found that this is pretty much the quintessential mod that you need for the bossing build, because it gives you an extra 94% skill effect range, even though your skill power modifier goes down. And that is stacking up on top of skill expansion, right? we really want to have a lot of range. We have 186% skill effect range, as you see on the left. That is really important because you need to stay a certain distance away from Defiler, or else he'll try to melee slam you. But if you're too far, the attacks won't do consistent amount of damage to get that one phase. So it's really important that you have enough range to play with him, because distance matters a lot, right? Especially for that one. Next here we have skill concentration. This is just another crit damage boost. And then we have focus on electric. This is a skill power boost and skill cooldown. Focus on tech, exact same thing as focus on electric. These are another skill power modifiers and skill cooldown. Then specifically for our bossing build here, we have dangerous ambush. I've seen people switch this around a couple different times. I've seen, I think, multi-talented as well. I personally think dangerous ambush is a little more consistent, but I do want to note multi-talented and explain the difference here. So, dangerous ambush, when landing a skill attack, which is her one, well, the enemy's not targeting you, which if you're trying to stay behind him, sometimes activates, but it gives you a bonus of 25%, basically. The important half of this is when you knock him down, which is the immobilized, you get a skill power boost of 50% while he's down. That is what allows for the much more consistent one phase. With multi-talented, however, when you're specifically using a tech skill, it's the third one in there, skill effect range and power modifier plus 15% for 5 seconds. And that cooldown pretty much applies constantly, right? So that's really nice because you just get this like constant 15% on him, which is nice because you get a little bit of a range boost and power boost, but I don't feel like it's worth that trade-off of the 50% for like the 7 or 8 seconds that he's down. You can run through his health bar so fast when dangerous ambush is procced. So yeah, that's my recommendation here, but you know, please feel free if you want to switch it. It might work better. Last one here, we have skill insight. This is just a crit rate boost. This is to ensure we're getting as many crits as possible on the boss. And then we already talked about skill expansion, boosting with maximized range. So yeah, again, as you're probably seeing here in some of the background gameplay, that is a run where I did manage to kill Defiler solo in, I think it was like 38 seconds. Not too bad, but you know, the boss can be inconsistent, I'm not gonna lie. Distance matters, RNG matters a little bit. My reactor isn't 110% perfect. It doesn't have Colossus and cooldown on it, so that would do a little more damage if you have that. But yeah, it's a fun boss. I mean, look, it's not an easy one phase, I'm not going to lie. I want to just be, you know, crystal clear with people here. I would say I can clear Defiler solo 7 out of 10. There are those runs where he just goes into his frenzy and then becomes difficult to attack because he's trying to poison you, and then you just keep dying to him when you're trying to get back in the fight, right? But overall, I would say a majority of the time I can get that easy one cycle. So yeah, that is our bossing build and our mobbing builds. Lastly here, we're just going to move into the laboratory testing to get some quick damage numbers on screen and kind of show off how this build works. So I will see you there. Here we are in the laboratory. Welcome over. We're just going to take a few minutes here just to kind of show off DPS numbers on screen, show the damage rotations and all of that. I always want to give a quick shout out to our lovely editor. His name is Snow. He puts in a lot of hard work for this, so I always want to make sure I say thank you and let people know to say thank you, right? He spends time, just grabs all of these damage numbers that we see, puts them on screen, sometimes puts little tidbits about how the numbers work and how the RNG with that is. But, you know, people seem to appreciate it. It's nice to just get a clear, concise number, right? So here we go. We are starting with her mobbing build. This is the one Infinity again, right? This one's super easy. That red bar on the bottom is not normally charged, but since we're in the lab, it is. The way this works is you start by using your one attack, right? And you're gonna watch that ping pong on the ants. As you can see, its recharge is extremely quick, which is really, really good. And we're seeing quite a few different DPS numbers on screen. We are almost always seeing crits. It's really good. So normally with this build, you just want to spam your one. And then once you have a bunch of ads electrocuted, you want to use 2. Right, so you want to go between 1 and 2, because when you proc 2, you'll see it have a huge boost to damage, and it's really nice. Now, for bigger ads, I usually will recommend 3. The way that 3 works is you'll see a white dot on the ground when you hold it, and then you use that to aim the ads, right? So then they pop like that, and they will explode all around. This is really good for yellow bars, especially in 400% dungeons, just because it does so much damage. Can be used for movement as well, right? Let's do one more here to try and get some concise damage numbers on screen. We saw over 7 mil right there. Awesome. Now, replenish our supplies real quick here. We're going to do our 4 ability. This one's really nice for clearing out big hordes, right? Those are pretty far spread apart, but because we have all the range boost, that's still hitting all of them all the time. The nice part is with this, in dungeons, because these are usually getting kills, it'll recharge that red bar. The red bar is needed for the 3 and 4, and your MP is needed for 1 and 2. But if you're soloing like a 400, you can spam 4. It'll work, like it'll keep it full all the time. So that is super nice, and yeah, this is our mobbing build. We're going to switch right over to the bossing build just to get some numbers, and then we'll be all done. Back over here with the bossing build now. As you can tell, the health bar is definitely lower, but that's okay. All right, so again, we have Secret Garden on for both of these as the reminder, because its unique ability is so helpful. But for bossing, it's going to go a little more like this. As opposed to spamming 2, 3, and 4, your base is going to stand here and spam your 1. The goal with the boss like Defiler or Swamp Walker or any of those, you want to be as close as possible. Defiler is a bit of an exception because if you're too close, he'll try to stomp you. But the closer you are, the less time this ping pong takes, right? I want to show that here by turning something down. So if I go here and I make the Vulgus quantity 1, this is important. When there's 1 add, you can see I can ping pong with it now, right? One of her X abilities will start to ping pong a ball. The more it ping pongs, the more damage it does. Now, if I start spamming it like this, you'll see there's more and more and more of them. That is why it's so important. The closer I get, the less travel time these orbs have, right? So the closer you are to a boss, the more often you are doing damage to said boss. Now again, with the bossing build, you have quite a lot of range. Like we're still all the way back here. Still going, still going. But you can really go and it still targets an ad, right? You have a lot of range, but as you see, there's a lot more travel time. So the goal with a lot of bosses is to try and stand somewhere in the middle. So you're close enough to be doing consistent damage with the ping pong ball, but not so close that you get killed, all right? So that is all of our damage there. Getting lots of numbers on screen. Good for everybody to see. But yeah, those are the mobbing and bossing builds. Those are all of our DPS numbers. And yeah, this is Ines. Ines is becoming one of my favorite characters super quickly. She seems like she's going to be a good staple in the game. And I hope everybody has a lot of fun with her. It's not too hard to farm her, but you know, everything like that. If anyone has any questions, please always feel free to let me know. Any comments are always appreciated, you know, everything like that. Again, thank you to our lovely editor for making all of this happen. It's really appreciated. And yeah, we will catch you guys all in the next build guide. Peace.